passionate about auditory processing. So I'm going to ask you if you could give our listeners out there, if there's anyone listening and wondering about or worried about their child who might have auditory processing difficulties, what are the main things that parents or teachers should look out for, and when should they send for an auditory processing assessment?
Auditory processing, your typical things that you would see in class would be asking for repetition for instructions, or maybe just not following instructions. We often see that they are learners who struggle to blend words, to start reading and spelling. They often have difficulty hearing and following instructions or general speech with the presence of background noise. They might seem as inattentive children, and that's why it's so important to work with a team process, because I always explain to my parents whether a child has ADD or ADHD, whether they've got a hearing loss, whether they are anxious, or whether they have central auditory processing disorders. If you see them in class, they actually all look exactly the same. And it's quite important to follow a team approach to sort of navigate and see where we need support for those children. So we, at our practice, we will see a child for a hearing assessment, because obviously we need to make sure that the hardware of hearing is working first, and then we will do the software of hearing. That's how I like to explain it to people, which is then the central auditory processing. And then the next step would be to look at the skills that one requires for spelling and reading, because those are often the largest complaints that we receive from parents, that my child is struggling to read or spell, and those skills that they need to learn are the skills that the speech therapist will assess and then treat. And then we work together on designing a therapy plan. And then often, if we feel it's necessary for a referral for an ADHD assessment, we will recommend that, visual perception for the occupational therapist, or whatever we think is necessary.